but normally we eat then vegetarian. And we offer sustainable meals to more than 4,500 pupils every day. 4,500 pupils every day. Our central focus is on the protein shifts because out of all nutrients, the worldwide production of animal proteins has the largest impact on the environment and the climate. So we also want to make sensitive to the youngsters, to the people, that really impact on environment when you eat a lot of meat or animal proteins. And through our sustainable public procurement, mostly for the school meals, we have reduced the CO2 emissions linked to food procurement with 38% compared to 2019. So that's an impact we made together. And finally, Ghent is committed to eradicating food waste. Food waste is also a big issue in every city, and that's a pity because when there is food, not just throw it away, but give it away. That's the idea. And through innovative initiatives and collaboration with businesses, organizations, we have taken significant steps in reducing food waste across the city. A very interesting concrete example is Food Savers. Food Savers, you find information in the back. It's a platform that collects surplus food, which is then safely redistributed by local, for example, social organizations, ensuring that no food goes to waste while addressing the needs of our community. There are a lot of people who cannot spend money on good food. I think it's everywhere in the world, in every city. So Food Savers rescues around 700 tons of food annually, while also giving vulnerable people access to our labor market. And one of the key factors behind, I think, Ghent's successful sustainable food strategy is our governance model. We believe in collaboration, in co-creation. We have a Ghent Food Council. A prime example of this brings together stakeholders, as well as private sector, as well as public partners, to drive innovation, to drive the change. And we promote it. For example, the food pilot supports businesses, labs, governments with their agri-food challenges, including also the development of new products, sustainable issues, or the improvement of processes. So in conclusions, a small few recommendations, if you're interested. First of all, I think local governments, cities, must play a role in shaping food systems. Secondly, do not make it too complex. Take it easy, make it easy. We began with a small scale projects, then it grew. Thirdly, collaboration, and to share knowledge and expertise. And fourthly, cities have led the way in food system. As we can talk about international agreements, for example, the Milan Pact and the Glasgow Declaration highlights the significance of the role of cities in that subject. And finally, UN bodies, UNEC, play also a role in supporting cities' efforts, so you can also work together with them. So I think maybe just the last remark, Mr. Moderator, about the exquisite hot sauce in your bag. This is also a Ghent innovation, and I look a bit to my paper because the special sauce is not only a culinary delight, but also a symbol of the power of circular economy. Crafted using small strawberries, rescued by Food Savers, our project. This sauce embodies our dedication to reducing food waste and supporting our local communities. So please enjoy the small gifts, and it can remind you the possibilities that arise when we work together for a better future. Maybe it's a bit hot, so you can still wait a few hours to come, and then at lunch you can taste it. Thank you very much, and thank you.
To say that this sauce was brought in a very sustainable manner, in a sustainable suitcase, but I will not say sustainable, Sarah. So it doesn't come by plane, it comes in a suitcase by train. Thank you so much. So as it is early morning, I propose a small exercise. We'll all first allow to the ambassador to leave them, or you can stay for the movie. There is a movie of 1 minute and a half.
I will have to go.
Yeah. Human Rights Council is going on also. So we will all like stand or turn our back or whatever, look the screen, and this is 1 minute and a half. So voilà, this makes an exercise. And then we sit back again and continue.
Will we carry the tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So, the video. The City of Ghent.
Welcome to Ghent.
Okay. If it doesn't work, we will watch it.
Oh, it will work.
Okay. There we go.
Ghent, the pocket-sized city in the heart of Europe with a progressive approach to sustainable living. Here, we care about our people and our planet. That's why we launched the food strategy Ghent en Garde to make the local food system more sustainable. The power of our success? We strengthen short food supply chains and increase sustainable production and consumption. We decrease food waste and we make healthy and sustainable food accessible for everyone. The key of our approach is cooperation, made possible by our multi-stakeholder governance model. The Food Council unites the different stakeholders: farmers, entrepreneurs, civil society and research. They all work together to shape the local food policy. The Food Council also has its own budget, which they use to support innovation in the food system. 13 promising projects have received financial support and advice. For example, a solar boat that brings fresh vegetables from an organic farm to the centre of Ghent. The people cook together and turn food surplus into tasty dishes. Our approach clearly made an impact on the local food system. In the past few years, the short chain platform Veneer linked 40 local producers to more than 50 restaurants and stores. Food Savers Ghent redistributed more than 2,000 tonnes of surplus food. We coached 67 collective vegetable gardens, and so much more. Ghent en Garde demonstrates the power of cities to transform local food systems.
So thank you very much, Bravo. And you can have this movie on YouTube. It is available. So please go ahead. And actually, the key thing is that you can enter through here. Sorry about this, but don't be worried. It's very informal. So for the newcomers, welcome. It's early morning, so we have a small breakfast for you in these bags, which are available on the chairs and behind. And if you have already ate at yours, you might have exceptionally a second one. Welcome again with this introduction. Thank you very much, Mayor, for these very good and concrete examples, concrete discussions here at the UN. I will shortly introduce the presenters of the panel, which you have here, and then I can circulate also this flyer, so you have the small narrative. Christophe Goulet, actually, Dr. Christophe Goulet is the senior researcher at the Geneva Academy of International Humanitarian Law and Human Rights, co-author of the Right to Food Manifesto, adopted by the city and the canton of Geneva. And not only the manifesto was adopted, but as you might know, we vote very much in Geneva. We do votation, a referendum, call it as you wish. And we voted very recently so that the right to food is set in the local constitution. And I guess that Christophe will tell us a little bit about this. So Christophe per se is not a mayor, he's not a governor, but he works very closely with mayors and governors on the right to food, and he's one of the biggest experts also on international level. Olena came to us from Rome. Why from Rome? Because the World Food Organization is based in Rome. They have a representation also in Geneva, a small one, which we would discuss in the corridor, how you can increase. But you're also expert on this right to food, and thank you very much for joining us. And as I said, this is an informal podium. Liliana is our colleague from the UNEC, so Liliana Kanavadze-Jacob, long name, but important. So Liliana is also working on supporting food strategies and with urban actors and also with the UN system. And she's also an expert in this topic. Enkyo running the show from the IT part. And last but not least, so bear with me, we have here Ahmed Kadir from the RDVA, who is the special representative of the mayor, who is also called Kadir, Ibrahim Kadir. So it's to come, as we say in French. And he will also share probably as response to some presentations, some thoughts from a city which is probably, it is certainly different from Ghent, but some, as mayor of Ghent said, some solutions or some problems and solutions might be joining at the end of the day, the resolution. So with this, I will no more. We have chosen to have a discussion around 3 questions, which are what best practices function around the world, what is happening elsewhere, in your experience, what are the cities around the world going to improve the food situation? How can the international community help local and regional governments to make their food system more sustainable? How can all levels of governments, meaning national, regional, local, cooperate more strategically to advance the sustainable food transformations in cities? I thought I shall start with Christophe, and then Olena, and then Liliana, and giving the floor to the representative of Mayor Delta to respond. But we can go the other way around. So, free floor to you. Please go ahead.
Maybe you can start.
Maybe you can start. So.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. So I've been working in the last 20 years on the right to food, first with the UN's Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food between 2000 and 2008. I did many country visits in the south, in the poorest country on earth. And then I had a 6-year research project on how to assess the sustainability of food systems in Africa and Latin America. And then I really started to work on right to food, where we did the first study in Geneva, right to food in Geneva in 2010. With students of the institute and with recommendations, but at that time nobody cared in Geneva. The local authorities didn't want to work on this issue. That was before the COVID crisis. Okay, so with the COVID crisis, we had thousands of people queuing for hours to get the food basket that was equivalent to 26 Swiss francs. And so there was a need to have a response, and the the local authorities responded. The first response was emergency, and they used the fact that we have in Geneva people like working for MSF who have huge experience in working in emergencies. That's what the proposal for the food distribution in Geneva. And then the structural response was the inclusion of the right food in the Geneva Constitution. So in Switzerland, we have a constitution in every canton. So it's local constitutions. And so we decided to include the right to food in the constitution. It was voted by the parliament, and 67% of the population voted in June this year. So now we have this right to food, which includes the right to be free from hunger and the right to adequate food. And we started a participatory process in which we draft a law and the food policy. And of course, the whole objective is to review how food aid is working with a central role for the state, but also to have sustainable food system. Okay? In many countries of the world where I was when they had a law on the right to food and or food security, it was all about food aid. And so the challenge here is also to reform food system so that it's more sustainable. We are in, I think, in an environment that is possible enabling for that, because the city of Geneva, since 20 years at least, is promoting local food systems that are sustainable. They have signed the plan of fact many years ago. They were the Ville du Goût in 2021, and they have a program. It's called Nourrir la Ville, in which they support local production. They also and local food systems. And also the canton of Geneva, 20 years ago, created a label that is the GRTA, Geneva Mission Terre Avenir, in which you can buy in all the supermarkets in Geneva the products that have this label, and you know that it's locally and should be sustainable and fair. And so that's the idea. So we are in an environment, and for example, now we have a new mayor in the city of Geneva, Alfonso Gomez, and for the entire year, from June this year to May next year, he will do events everywhere and promote the links between food, climate change, and human rights. Okay, so that's his main focus now. So he's started in June this year. So there is let's say there is a environment that is favorable to that. So we hope that we will do something sustainable in Geneva. There is also we adopted in April this year a manifesto on the right food. So it was a 3-day forum that we organized with 60 people from the city, the canton, but also civil society organizations and others. And so we drafted a manifesto in which we call for a change of paradigm from food aid to the right to food, and also fighting food waste and making many changes. Okay, so you can even sign a manifesto. 2,500 people have signed it. I have copies in French. I didn't know if you want, but it's online. Right Food Manifesto if you want. One of the challenges, for example, that we try to change is that we have school meals. For example, for now in schools in Geneva, it's only from 4 to 12 years old. So it's not after between 12 and 15 years old, you don't have any school meals. So that's one of the things we want to change. Also, for example, we have a challenge with the minimum wage in Geneva. We don't have a minimum wage in Switzerland, but we have one in Geneva since a few years. But agricultural workers are outside of the minimum wage. Okay, so that's a big shame. But that's something we want to change. So there are many things here that we hope we will change on the basis of the right to food as recognized, because that means that the city of Geneva and the canton of Geneva have to have a stronger role in protecting the right to food of the whole population. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very instructive. Even me, I didn't know all the things. So thank you for this. So, Olena, that was very local. And Geneva, obviously, it's relevant for everyone. So could you give us a little bit more global perspective?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for inviting me. It's literally music to my ears, because FAO has been trying to put obviously food on cities and local governments' agendas for a long time, for several decades, right? So we all know the trends of urbanizing world, but let me add maybe a few figures that relate that to food. So for instance, 70% of all food that is produced is consumed in cities. And this happens even in countries with large urban populations, right? So we consume most of everything that's produced out there. Again, you all have heard the figures of 1/3 of used for human consumption being lost and waste. What is interesting is that food loss and food waste and green waste usually make more than 50% of all municipal waste, which for many local administrators is the highest single budget item. So farmers are producing, we are not consuming, it is wasted, cities pay. So what are we investing our efforts and money into, right? We live in the world which can feed everyone, yet we have 1 billion that is underweight and undernourished, 1 billion that is overweight. So how do we bring this all back to focus? What we also see in this trends of urbanization is that, for instance, in low-income countries, some households pay as much as 2/3 of their income for food. And again, this happens in countries where food and agriculture is adding more than 50% of value. So there is clearly something wrong in there. So how do we bridge those things and how do we work with those? And again, if you want to know maybe more figures and latest research on that, you can check out the 2023 State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World report by FAO and the partners, which focuses specifically on urbanization and the trend and what it is doing to our world and how we can address it. I'll pick a few examples because, again, FAO is supporting lots of initiatives. One of those has been mentioned already a couple of times, and that's Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, where mayors themselves committed to developing sustainable urban food systems, right? And since they came together as 46 mayors, they developed back then 37 recommendations. They are now comprising more than 260 cities, and that covers more than 460 million around the world. Over the years, they have collected more than 620 good practices. So you are all unique in terms of your cities. But chances are that in those practices, you can find things to get inspired by or things that you can tailor to your specific environment, because as we know, no one size fits all. What is FAO and partners doing? We have helped the cities to develop an innovative and comprehensive set of indicators to monitor their progress on those recommendations. And again, these are not FAO or UN recommendations. These are things that were demanded by the government so that they themselves can monitor what they need based on their needs and on their capacities, because that's extremely important. If you want to monitor to be able to do it, we all have different opportunities with regard to data collection and data management, and that needs to be taken into account. Another thing which is of interest is how cities came together before the Food Systems Summit in 2021, and then again in 2023 for the first food stock-taking moment after the Food Systems Summit. So the cities came together not just to discuss the issues that are of importance to them, but actually to say, how can we bridge the gaps that exist between the many initiatives? There are so many institutions work on different aspects of urban food systems, so many layers, so many vertical and horizontal players, and still they're not getting there. So something's off, something's wrong. So how can we bridge that gap? They have self-organized into Urban Food Systems Coalition that again is promoting change and working together to exactly bridge those gaps. What are some of the things you ask me that are not happening or that we could be doing more? And that is the need to stop looking at urban food systems only from the city's perspective. Because as the world is urbanizing, small cities, intermediary cities, rural towns, they are bridging this gap. So there is no urban and rural divide anymore. There is urban-rural continuum. And in order for us to fit cities, we need to understand how agri-food systems that produce our food, how do they interact with this urban-rural continuum? And only based on that understanding can we indeed help to feed the urbanizing world and make sure it's fed in a sustainable, healthy, and most important, culturally and socially appropriate way based on the indigenous and national practices. Let me stop here because I think I've used quite a bit of my time. So.
It's very interesting what you say. So hopefully we will come back to you also quickly. Turning to Liliana, who is also UN. That's another part of the UN, and as I said, more, by mandate concentrated obviously on the UNEC member state countries, but not only because we can cut in knife. So what would you add or say? And obviously, no PowerPoints. No, because we cannot watch them.
If we could all turn around and please have a look. I think it's nice to have some pictures. We learned a lot. Let me also add that I'm actually the chief of UNEC FAO Forestry and Timber section, which might sound a bit weird to you. Actually, I come from the food, with a food background, and I'm responsible for food in cities. So don't be scared by my title, but here we go. Next slide, please. This was mentioned very, very often already, and it's very, very dear to my heart because I think food loss, which happens before the supermarkets, anything happens before that is called food loss. That's the FAO definition. Everything after that is food waste. Super dear to my heart because I think there's a lot to be done. I'm very grateful for the speakers before who spoke so much about initiatives already happening. But this is a reality. There's a lot of food. And let me add to what the person from FAO just said. There's also money attached to that. We are throwing out food into which we pumped a lot of money. Let us not forget that. We are throwing out food that could be saved, that could either, and we heard that from Ghent, either commercialized in these platforms like Too Good To Go and what have you, or given to social outfits like food banks. But there is a monetary value in that. Let's not forget that either. There is a business. Actually, there is a business case in all this. Let us not forget that. That hot sauce, that's an innovative product. Someone thought about this. All the food that drops out of the supply chain can be made into new products. Let's not forget about that. Next slide, please. Now, for us, we have seen cities facing problems, and this is really cities everywhere in the world. If you want to distribute food, if you want to reuse food, you need to find it in time. There's a problem between commercial versus social, matching supply and demand. There's a lack of traceability. Where does this food actually come from? A lot of it is happening in silos. Local efforts are very important. Ghent is an excellent example of all this working together. In many cities, it is not like that. The waste department does not necessarily work with the social department. It's not always a cooperative, participatory approach. It doesn't always come together as nicely as we heard from Ghent. And one thing we observed is that there is a lack of data. And if you don't have data, it's super difficult to come up with great policies, to come up with programs, because you just don't know where the food is, how much there is. Can you build a business based on that or not? Next slide, please. And here I'm actually quite proud that we provide a solution. The UN actually provides a solution. I've been with the UN for over 30 years, and that's the first time in my life I can actually say we go beyond signing things, declaring things. We actually have a solution. Our solution is called Nature Eat Town. It's blockchain based. It's out there. It's ready. It's programmed. It's ready for use. It is very similar to what Mr. Leclerc described, in that it brings together everyone in the food system. The commercial actors, the social actors, the producers, the distributors, the processors, basically the farming community, the clients, to provide opportunities for better access to healthy food, nutritious food. And there I join my colleague from FAO. That's really the purpose of this all. We want to feed every mouth, but we don't want to feed every mouth with chips. We want to feed every mouth with nutritious, healthy, good food. And a lot of the food that we throw out, a lot of the food that a supermarket can no longer commercialize, because often of very, very stupid rules, excuse me, but it is what it is, can be used and can be eaten. It's as easy as that. So with that net application, we can improve the food management, and it's not only food loss and waste management. It's really food resource management, We can support a transparent reporting, we can support tracing, and we have data, which in my view is really the future. Next slide, please, and I'm done. So this is what it looks like. You have the presentation. There's no need for me to get into this. You can join us, you can call upon us. I'm here, and you have my email also in the presentation to try this out with us and go on this journey of saving food, but also saving food is something innovative with blockchain, with traceability, so that we do not have bad food out there and give bad food to anybody. Next slide. Another solution, and there again, I read up on Ghent before I came here. You have a registry of fruit trees, which I found amazing, because being the chief of forestry, obviously we're also interested in where the food grows, the actual tree, right? It's twice the benefit. You plant trees. Trees are the best nature-based solutions against climate change. It's just, it's a universal solution, but it also provides food. So don't forget that planting food can have double the benefit and can provide food, and a healthy food, a nutritious food for all. Again, our application helps you track it, but I think this is fabulous. And having, like Ghent has this registry of edible food, having an edible landscape in the city, I think that would be my dream. Not only as the chief of forestry, but that is a dream, having an edible landscape in or around the city, be it for agricultural production, be it in the parks. I mean, I often walk around and you see oranges grow on trees, and then, the landscapers tell me, oh, don't touch these oranges. They're not edible, they're sour, it's not a variety.
In Seville, I was shocked.
I'm shocked, huh?
Yeah.
I had the experience in Athens where they told me, no, do not touch them. This is not edible. Okay, I get it. There's pollution. It's not that obvious. But, there are spaces in cities where these edible landscapes can grow. So with that, I thank you very much. And give back the floor.
Thank you, Liliana. I said no PowerPoint. You overcame this intersection, but you did very well. No, honestly, you did super well. Never listen to me again, because that was very inspiring. Logistical note: if you have registered for the event through the Global Cities Hub system, we have your email. If you haven't, c'est pas grave. Just leave us your email so we can, if you allow us, it's an open source to send you this PowerPoint. Whatever you prefer, and you can leave Pauline your email, so we will send the PowerPoint if you send it to us. Thank you so much, and so you see, Mayor, that you have been studied closely. So next time when you come to Geneva, be careful, because we are watching you. Yeah. So moving from Geneva and Ghent to Dava is probably a big move or not. I don't know. Shame on me. Please tell us what you heard, what happened in your head, and what you wanted to tell us, please.
Again, good morning, and thank you so much, and ladies and gentlemen. This is a big opportunity, to say a few words, from Ethiopia. Dredor is founded in the eastern part of Ethiopia, and which is a young city, almost like 121 years. And the intention of that city was when the trade, the joining Djibouti and Ethiopia started almost 1902 was established cities. Especially, it's almost like 600,000 people are founded. It is the city of the trade. Investment is a hub city for the Ethiopia, as well as eastern part of Ethiopia, because we are very close to the border of Djibouti, as well as Somalia. Import and export. It's a very clean city. It's a very beautiful city, from the Ethiopian, and it's the second largest cities. When I come to the topic, overall, when we see the Ethiopian levels, now Ethiopia is out of track, to achieving the strategic development toward this second strategy because of different reasons. The first is the climate change because of internal wars, because of the locust infested, because of Russia and Ukraine. All these are creating impact on Ethiopia as well as on our cities. Because of this reason, we face a shortage of the foods, no access in our state. Because of this, we have malnutrition. The definition of malnutrition are, as the mal indicated, overs and under. In our state, we're defining under for malnutrition. Because of this reason, we're facing a lot of challenges with malnutrition case. If you see the impact or sign and symptoms of malnutrition on the human being, they are affecting directly or indirectly the stunting. If you see the prevalence of stunting of children in Ethiopia, currently now we are just 7% that are available. Wasting is almost like 21%. Stunting, wasting, and both signs symptoms we have. This is the headache. The interpretations are our challenging. You know, talking about the overnutrition, we're never talking about the wasting of the food. We focus in how to get the food. We focus in how to feed the mouths of every one of our city residents, because we have more than 600,000 people. These are a big challenge. Therefore, our cities are trying to feed all these residents. Now in Ethiopia is already announcing food nutrition policies already adopted. Even they adopted nutrition strategy last year to achieve, but this is not that we achieve in 2013 of sustainable development of nutrition problems. Ethiopia is still facing the high burden of malnutrition due to the environmental, social, political, economic, and cultural factors. Inadequate agricultural productivity, poor harvest lost, poor food services, caring and the feeding practice. All these are the cause of malnutrition, which is we call focusing on. They classifying the cause of malnutrition, the baby cause, the underlying cause, the immediate cause. That's we facing the problem. Even population growth, land degradations, lack of infrastructure are the major driving country food and nutrition insecurity. The problem is compounded by the cultural belief, food taboos, and traditional cooking, feeding practice, which tend to discouraging the women's children to nutrition feed. Nutrition security demand the utilization of the food to general optimal nutritional status, well-being, productivity, longevity, if all these issues are solved. Nutrition security is achieved when the secure access to sufficient, safe, nutritious food is coupled with proper care and feeding. Sanitary environment, access to adequate health service, hereby is consuming a healthy life for all household members. Hence, the food security alone is insufficient to ensure nutrition security. That's access to clean water, healthy environment, and adequate health care service are the central component to attaining nutrition security. Now the Ethiopian government, they adopted to address the problem of malnutrition with two solutions. One, in order to tackling or the cause of malnutrition, they come approach with the nutrition sense. And for the malnourished, immediately they come with the specific nutritions. When we say the nutrition sensitivity, it is multi-sectoral approach because the cause of malnutrition are multi-sector. They need multi-sector. The government now they are focused to intervening long-term or to tackling the stunting, wasting, and sign of both. Therefore, the approach is now multi-sectoral coordinations. Even these opportunities are very important for us. The second is when we say the nutrition is specific, that's for when they faced immediate signs, symptoms that are specifically managed by the health approaches. Therefore, what we did so far ourselves, what is the challenge we're facing because of the malnutrition rate, and if you see in Dredoa high. If you see the stunting prevalence in Dredoa, it's almost like 21%. If you see the wasting, it's almost like 4 point something. In other ways also, in the some rich area, there is also its overnutrition. It's not our big deal for time being. Our big deals or our issues now, how to feeding the mouths of every citizens of Dredoa as well as overall Ethiopians. Therefore, the Dredoa is now focusing on the promotion of tackling the promotion of the urban agricultures, multi-sectoral nutrition factories, and even kindly requested and from you guys, we plan to promote the school feeding programs, to tackling the malnutrition, to tackling the aging generations. We plan school feeding programs, and the feeding center is still on the paper phase. Therefore, because of time constraint, I'm going to stop here and kindly requested any support to supporting the Dredoa cities, and especially on the school feeding programs and the feeding centers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very telling story that you told us, very concrete. Thank you for this. I'm keen to give the floor to everyone, but we have two other mayors in the room, which are not officially in the program. And I think that after this presentation, you might be appalled also to say short comments or questions. So please go ahead.
Yes,
feel free to do so.
Thank you. I'm a city mayor of the city of Nakhon Si Thammarat, in southern Thailand. We have a population around 120, okay, and 58,000 are in the city mobile platform. So we have a powerful tool to use to work together, okay, for early disaster warning, public services, and then your presentation is very my inspiration. So definitely I will join the blockchain food program. So keep in touch. And then I will share with you a program that our city put 3 parties together with different needs, different interests to solve their food problems. The first is the homeless and low-income family. They need income. The second party is a landowner. Okay, these are rich people. They need to have a lower land tax. Okay, and the third party is our city school lunch program that need organic food products. Okay, so we have a program called City Farm. So we issue a special contract, okay, for the landowners and the low-income families to meet and to work together. So the landowner will allow low-income families to work in their land as a farmer, have organic food production, good the food, no chips. Okay. And the product will be supplying to our city schools. So they don't have to worry about the marketing or where to sell. The city will buy their products. So by doing this, the landowner have a lower land tax, and the low-income family have a extra income. And our school program has a good organic food production for our school lunch. That's a program that I would like to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Davis
Let me come in.
Dodoma, Tanzania.
Yeah, let me put it this way. By nature, our urban food systems are complex. They're complex. They're made up of different components. But the difference that we see here from the Dredoa's example and that from Ghent is that whereas there is a fusion of these different components, you cannot talk about urban food systems because of the almost diffused continuum of the rural and the urban. On the other hand, when you have the urban food systems in Ethiopia, Tanzania, as elsewhere, you have these components so much isolated to an extent that they are forming isolated sub-components. And that makes a huge, huge, huge difference. You don't see who's producing, who is selling, who is consuming. The same that producing, they are selling, they are consuming, etc., etc. While in this case here, we have a stark difference in terms of who is producing and probably producing, and other people here are trying to bridge the producers in the rural setting and the consumers in urban setting and make a huge difference. So this is an intruding food component, which makes a huge difference in terms of the pricing, in terms of accessibility, in terms of the choice of the food system. So really, as a way of joining the discussion, two sides here. Indeed, there are so many components, so many isolated components of what is the food system in your case, but there is relatively just one component for. So really, as a way of coming out, probably, you need to struggle so much of these components, these different components here, coming together, seeing possibilities of this coming together to have just one goal. But as long as we are going to have such distinct sub-components, we are really doomed for a fail. So unless we are able to bridge through, there's very little that we can anticipate in terms of a better tomorrow for the food justice.
Yeah.
Food justice.
That's a favorite expression of Christophe Gollet, who did a PhD on the food justice. So
Justice. We wish it was to the level of the nutrition, but to his case, to my case, food justice is just getting access to food, whatever kind of food. The nutrition idea comes later on as you go up. So food justice to some means quite different things. As from, I thought this is what I had to contribute in this kind of understanding. So indeed, this is where connecting the different, we are now in the interregional segment again. Yes, so I'm trying to offer some kind of different outlooks in terms of what it means by the food systems. I thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very, very useful, I must say, because that was the missing part of the discussion. So thank you for bringing it. Opening the floor for short questions to the point. It will be one round, so I will allow as much as they come. And please note the answers, and I will give the floor to everyone at the end. Not to be late for the Forum of Mayors, Paula will kill me. So we have to stop on time. So yes, shoot, I think we have a diverse public here. So Lorenzo.
Thank you, Camelia. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for these inspiring presentations. I have a question for Mayor de Klerk regarding the reorganization of the whole local food system to be sustainable. And I was wondering if this brand of food sustainability is also creating benefits in terms of employment and economic growth for the food sector.
Thank you.
Probably just take the questions and then I will revert to you. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead, because we need to end of time, so please feel free. Also from panelists, if you have questions for other panelists, now is the moment. Yes.
How do I reach you, Diana, for I'm part of two programs, blockchain dApps, that are one is helping to users to be incentivized to plant trees and track the progress of the tree plantation. And another one is for agroforestry, for people to start new ecosystems and find people in the local community to buy the food and take part into the program. So I'd like to talk to you maybe at one point, or maybe send you an email and explain it, if that's possible.
Yes. So the expert on food is okay. Thank you.
If I may just add to what the representative from Thailand said, actually we piloted this app in Thailand. So
In
that is-
Bangkok.
Yeah, in Bangkok.
In Bangkok.
Correct, in Bangkok with Palatai, which is one of the biggest wholesale markets. It's very often also falls out.
Yeah.
Wholesale markets. And actually our developers are also based in Bangkok. So
Okay,
it's exactly your time zone. There you go.
thank you very much.
Okay, other questions? Yeah. So, yes, please. Go.
These
Yes.
mayors, because again, this topic is clear for me from the point of professional interest. But can I ask the mayors to share how their personal path has led them to the interest in this topic? I realize you have to feed people, but what else drags you to it? Anything specifically that happened in the city, or the challenge that you had to face, or maybe a solution that you found? But your story about tackling food challenges in your city.
Thank you. I also have one question to the mayors, because you spoke, the four of you basically, about problem solutions. And it's not provocative, but you haven't mentioned the United Nations. Well, we heard that there are many solutions from the United Nations. So to me, as Global Cities Hub, this is one of the question marks, actually. Is neither problem, neither criticism, but how to connect urban, leaders, as you are, to the UN, because despite the efforts that probably UN agencies are doing, UN is a state-driven place where national governments connect and discuss. And so we hear that there is a local level solution, problems, questioning, then national level get to the UN, and somehow, again, not provocative, does really UN getting to the local level, and how? So that's, for me, it's a question also. With this, I am turning back to the panelists, probably starting with you, because you are the big instigator of this event, so you have to wear the responsibility of replying first.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator. First of all, the question, I think what is interesting is that it's not only to feed the mouth also of vulnerable people, that's very, very important, but also of vulnerable people who are now on labor market, to have job experience, to contribute by social organization, to cook, to help to cook, to give the meals to other vulnerable people. So I think it's interesting that there are some new jobs for people who are not on the regular labor market, but who can have experience with it, and then grow to a job in, for example, a restaurant or something like that. And secondly, there are, I think, 50 restaurants in Ghent who give away the food if necessary. And of course, a lot of Ghentian people like that. It's a reason to go to that restaurant.
Okay.
It's sympathetic. It's good. So I think it benefits also the restaurants who are in, and other restaurants who are not in yet. See also that the restaurants who are working with that system, people talk about it. It's good publicity. Yeah, you have to say like that. So it's a growing system. So I think there are good results for new jobs for vulnerable people who doesn't work at this moment, but now do work and do have experience in it, and also for the restaurants who are working with it. Then how it came, the policy. Ghent is a special city in this thing that we have a lot of engagement from people, bottom up. There's a lot of people who are busy with food and food strategy. And for example, Ghent is the city in all of Europe. We have the most vegetarian restaurants of Europe. compared to our inhabitants. So more than in London, for example, or Milan, for example. And we are smaller, of course. We have 266,000 inhabitants. But we have the most vegetarian restaurant in relations to our inhabitants. So Ghent is always a laboratorium of trending things who are in other cities maybe 10, 20, 30 years later. Also on the political way, but that's something else.
Don't open other discussions.
That's not a description.
Yeah.
And what we do as a city is give the key to the people, give the trust to the people to set up a platform. There are some rules, of course, because it's also public resources, and then give the confidence to the people, and they bring enterprises together, social organizations, restaurants, network, and that's how it was building up. And of course, you need an active local government to register, to have the data, to put in a transparent way to give the data to the people. We have, for example, a system, Open Data. You can see it's on the website of the City of Ghent, and there you can see a lot of data, so you can work with it, and you bring the people together, and that's how it started. Yet already a lot of years ago, but it's growing and always new concrete programs and a platform, a strategy, ownership, confidence giving to the people. And working together with an active local government. I think you need both. You cannot have only civilians who are active. You need also local governments to stimulate them. And you don't have enough with only local government. You need the people who are active.
Thank you very much. And shorter intervention, last word. Olena, you were having a lot, I think, so constraint in 1 minute or so. Christophe and then Olena.
Okay.
Oh, the other one. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you would go to other layers to ask. I mean, in a few words, there are many recipes out there that work in different contexts. In some cases, they work better than in others. And it's important for us in FAO to collect those practices and to make them available to mayors. But it's extremely important for us to see that you are driving this agenda. And this responds a little bit to your question about the role of the UN, because we, as the UN, should be the platform where you come together to share your challenges, your solutions, and then tell us how we can support you, be it through technical assistance, be it through giving the place for you to raise your voice. But again, as Mayor Clark said, it has to be both. It has to be cities coming together, matching, and then the UN can help match local to national, national to global as a vertical, but then also as horizontally. Because again, we are here, all people who are talking about food, but we need others. We need those who can tell us more about climate. We need those who can tell us about social aspects of food, who can tell us about economics, who can tell us about many other things. And the more people we engage who are not the usual suspects, who are not our friends and are already in sort of business of promoting urban food systems, the better for everyone it's going to be. So I think there is a place for everyone, and for more people who are not in this room, we need to drag them in and make champions of urban food.
Definitely. Thank you. Christophe?
Thanks. No, just a word on sustainability. I think it's was good also to discuss about organic food. There is the Secretary General of the UN presented a report on the right food and climate change in June at the Universal Council session this year. Fantastic report, and lots of emphasis put on agroecology. The need to push for promote agroecology. I think that's also important to do it at the local level. And then I think that what you said about the putting local production and local consumers together, it's very key, really key. For example, in Geneva, so I said actual workers, they don't have the minimum wage. It's only because consumers will know them that we will fight for that, so that they also have a minimum wage that is equivalent, because otherwise it's a question of price. The consumers will say, oh, no, but then the product will be more expensive, so we cannot afford that. But, I mean, because they know each other, we will have to be fair with the users and have a system for everyone in Geneva.
Thank you. And again, he wrote a PhD on the right to food, if you're interested. And access to justice, food justice, so you can approach him in the corridor for this. Mayors, 1 minute just to make a comment. So please, starting with you, and then I'll give the floor to others. Yes. Please.
Thank you again. In order to tackling all these malnutrition problems, Federal cities are focusing on the interventions, especially by opening school feeding programs in 5 public selected schools. They already prepared and also this submitting this budget request to the federal federal Ethiopians. On the second hand, they was looking for any donors or supporting these programs. We focusing on the second. Almost we planted like more than 84,000 trees last year. Most of the plant trees are edible trees, as I already mentioned. This is one of the efforts, in the long-term efforts, and the others focusing on teaching people on diversified foods, and the others are especially for malnourished kids and did to be strengthened at the center of the feeding in the school and in the city levels, and especially in the hospital center. They teach professional pupils, and especially the nurses and the health officers. They give you attention, to center strengthening and providing supplementary fooding as well as medical equipment. Then according to this, we provided, and this is the way we intervene overall. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Concrete measures again. So you've heard that everything started in Thailand. So
thank you very much. Our strength of the local government is in the local level, with the local knowledge. And we need international experience, best practice, capacity building. Shall I say that we don't need money, but we need friendships, we need partnerships. That's more valuable than money. So I'd like to share with you one more project. We have a classroom next to my office in the city room, in the city hall. We call it the mayor classroom. Okay, and all the students are street kids, the poor of the poor. So in the morning, we have a van going around the city, pick them up, and come to my classroom next to my office, so I can take care of them with everything that they need. So there are maybe trouble kids, and then don't have money, stay with the old people. They come here and they provide the best school lunch, better than any other city schools. So that's a project that we are very proud, and then like to share with the national stage, and then we can exchange idea whether this idea can expand to other cities in Thailand or international or not. So we can go directly to the poor of the poor and bring the kids to stay with the mayor, who has the authority in terms of budget and in terms of law. Because in Thailand, the mayor has authority in terms of budget, pretty flexible. They can issue a special contract to lower tax of the landowner and bring these 3 parties together. That's I have only 1 minute. Okay, thank you.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Inspiring.
Yes.
Mayor.
Well, I come up with a question. The food challenge, whose agenda? Whose agenda is this food challenge? Is it way up in the central government, in sub-regional government, with the communities? And probably the fact that he was presenting it gives the right answer. That really not up so high, close to the people that we need to feed. They are the ones whose agenda is most important, and probably they may have the solution.
Absolutely. You're the right person to answer this. As the last
And
speaker.
actually, I did not show one of the slides that I had prepared, which is the last slide, which is on this interdependency between national, international, be it, but particularly national, regional, and then the local level. And I think it's very important because if a country doesn't have a law for donations, doesn't allow donations, things like that happened in Ghent would have never happened. If you continue to tax, I mean, we've heard the case of Georgia, where every donation is taxed. Who's going to give anything to the poor or give anything for commercial circuit? It's not going to happen. So the two really have to work very closely together. Another example, in Spain just now, they enacted a law on, or they also have it in France, zero waste. Everybody has to give everything away. It's easier said than done, because at the local level, you will then be asked to organize all this. There is this interdependency that I think is very important. And I'm grateful you pointed this out. I'm very grateful for your very inspiring story. It touched my heart, definitely. That is fabulous what you do. Thank you very much. And we often tend to forget here, where we're also well fed and often well in all kinds of other directions, that there's a part of this world that is facing a totally different challenge. Do not flip into the chips story, because it's not gonna work out either. I think what my colleague from FAO pointed out, Olena, very pertinent. This link definitely needed, and we need platforms like the FAO that bring everybody together and that provide this. Let me also promote our Forum of Mayors here from UNECE. Use the platform. Let me also point out, as the gentleman from Geneva said, Christophe, there's this right to food. There's also a distinct gender aspect here. In many countries, it's the woman that needs to look for food. And that is very important. Let us not forget that in this whole story, there is a gender aspect. And that is very important. Climate equity comes with food equity and the right to healthy and good food. Thank you very much for this, Camelia. It was a very, very inspiring event for us.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Don't forget your presence. Thank you also to the City of Ghent for bringing them sustainably in Geneva. And please discuss in the corridors, but don't be too late for the Forum of Mayors.